Testing, testing, testing. We got an echo there. Ted, do you want, since I'm not going to be speaking, if you want to do a test, that way we know if we're going to have a lot of feedback or not. I kind of moved it back so it's not so.
Hello. Test. Test, test. Is there an echo? That'll be all right. Can that mic be pulled out of there without too much trouble? Test, test, test. Good morning, Steve. That sounds like an echo a little bit yet to me. All right, test. Can you hear me? Does it sound good? All right, thank you. Boom, that's wired.
You have to push the button, Connie. Is it green? Then you have to push it down.
Test, test, test. Hear me? All right. Good morning. I'm Steve Schrader, head athletic trainer at Cloud County Community College. And I want to welcome you and thank you for attending this celebration of life for Lee Gale. Lee Gale was hired to drive the bus for Cloud County Community College in August of 2007, in August of 1997. And he did the job well, with integrity, pride, and honor, up until his last ride in October 7th, 2023. Lee H. Gale, age 71, passed away on Sunday, October 15th, 2023, surrounded by his family at the Salina Regional Health Center in Salina, Kansas. He was born in Concordia, Kansas on June 17th, 1952, to Dr. Mark Ernest and to Jane Boyd Gale. Lee graduated from Concordia High School in 1970. He then went on to graduate from Kansas State University in 1974 with a bachelor's degree in political science. He married Terry Williams on January 3rd, 1976 in Salina, Kansas. To this union, 2 daughters were born, Nikki and Nancy. Lee was an operational manager for several retail department stores, and in 1993 he received his master's degree in divinity from North American Baptist Seminary. After receiving his master's in divinity, he served several congregations as a Methodist pastor in the Dakota Conference. Lee's motor coach service started for Otter Tail Men Dakota Coaches. He later was a bus driver for Village Travel out of Wichita, Kansas. His last and proudest bus driving position was for the Cloud County Community College Athletic Department. He married his Concordia High School classmate, Marla Joy Jorgensen, on August 12th, 2017. The two shared a sweet love story, and they went everywhere together. Following the loss of Marla, she continued to ride the bus with Lee in spirit. Marla's name was placed on the door of the bus, so she was always with him and the T-Birds as they traveled. Lee now joins Marla for all future T-Bird bus trips, as his name has been placed right next to hers. Lee was an avid Kansas State University and Chiefs fan, taking in all their games. Most of all, he truly enjoyed his Cloud County Dirty Birds sporting events. Lee was a connoisseur of coffee and welcomed anyone for a cup and visit. Lee is survived by his 2 daughters, Nikki Gale Youngberg out of Fergus Falls, Minnesota, Nancy Wilson, Minto, North Dakota, their mother, Terry Schrug, Callahan, Florida, his 2 grandsons, Cooper Wilson and Weston Youngberg, 2 nephews, Rick Smith, Rob Smith, and a niece, Pam Clark, and many, many other friends. Lee was preceded in death by his parents, Dr. Mark and Jane Gale, wife Marla Joy Jorgensen, sister Nancy Smith, who died just 2 days before him, brother-in-law Richard Smith, and great-niece Lydia Clark. I know for my wife and I, Lee was a kind but yet ornery person and soul that always made our day brighter. We are fortunate to call him a close friend, and that was always there to listen, provide a good joke if needed, or give advice as needed. And I think most of us would say the same thing. We can both say that we were fortunate to be able to also say those same things for Lee when he needed us. If we would continue on his legacy, we would tell you to all live by the 3 L's. Live like Lee. Be kind, be a good person, and do more for others than what you have to. Thank you, Lee Gale, for being one of our very best and loyal friends during our time at CCCC. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the president of Cloud County Community College, Amber Konechkin. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, over the last couple of weeks, as we've endured the loss of Lee, I think in true form, we've tried to think about all of the ornery things that he did or in ways that he impacted all of our lives. I remember Lee very early in my career here as vice president. It hadn't been 6 months and got a call over the weekend, and the bus was on fire. And no, I'm looking at Drew. They remember that very well. They were on their way to K-State Region track, right? And the back of the bus had caught fire, and so we were sending vehicles to go and pick them up and make sure we got them to Region track, but it was a pretty intense fire. It got towed back to the college or up on the hill across the body shop, and it was totaled. And so here in my first 6 months, we're out of bus. We need to figure out what we're going to do. And so I got Carlene and Rex and Lee. And we drove up to Nebraska because there was nobody else I wanted to pick out our next bus than Lee. And so he was very honored, and he took that job very seriously. And so we went up there, and he was very particular about the kind of bus that he wanted. And so the bus that you all have been riding on is the bus that Lee picked out personally. And so it was a really fun road trip where I have some fun pictures and moments and memories of being able to go with Lee. I don't know anything about buses, and that was his baby. And it truly was his baby because he picked it out. And as you saw some of the pictures, he got those lights on the bus underneath. He was so proud of those lights. And so at the beginning of that relationship, Lee felt very honored that I wanted him to go with us to pick out the bus, when really I needed him in his area of expertise. But it was just something that bonded us with that fire that happened on the previous bus. And working through insurance is always really fun too. So he also helped through that. But more than that, Lee and I created a bond where if there were stressful things, not that ever happens in any of our lives, even mine, but here at work or whatever, he would say, you can come by and see Marla and I and talk, and we don't have to talk about work. We can talk about anything you want to talk about and have some coffee. And so one of the pictures was the coffee and the little heart cookie, which was from Walmart that he had made for me one time when I was over there that I had to take a picture of because it just looked so perfect. But I think what you may hear over some of the stories today that people want to share is just really that Lee was there for us in whatever capacity we needed him, and never asked questions, and was just there to listen and so and stay ornery. I was lucky enough to get a Werther's Original when he dressed as an old woman at the game. It took him a half hour to get out of his purse, but I think we all it's important in dealing with stress and loss and all of those things, in finding humor in that. And I think that's something that Lee would want. I just wanted to get up here and share just that quick story of how he went and actually purchased that bus with us and took such great pride in it, and even ran down the driveway out of the bus here in the last month to catch me so he could tell me he got those lights on. And then that night he sent me, because I said, send me pictures when it's dark. And he did. And so it's just a pretty special guy that would reach out when I didn't know I needed him to, just to check on me. And so I think we'll probably hear a lot of those common stories today. But I appreciate you all being here, and I'm glad that we're able to honor him as our Cloud family, because he was part of our Cloud family. And next up, Julian's going to get up and speak. But thank you for letting me come up, and thank you for being here today.
So, hello everyone. Lee Gale, one of the nicest, most caring, selfless people I've ever met in this world. Treated me like family the moment I got here. He was more than just our bus driver. He was any and everything we needed here at Cloud. Father figure, a therapist, a great barista, a great friend, and even a self-proclaimed recruiting coach that was solely based on if the kid liked coffee or not. So that was more important than accolades. As most of you know, a lot of my guys like to go over to Lee's house. They're over there often. A couple guys stayed with him. So I would send recruits over to Lee's house so Lee can get a feel for the recruit. If I got a text later in the night, it was a good thing. It means, hey, I like this kid. He's all right, probably because he drank coffee. If I got a text knowing that he just got over there and I was getting a text from Lee, it was never a good thing. The text would say something like, yeah, I don't know about this kid. Something seems off. Probably shouldn't be here. So solely because he did not want to drink Lee's coffee. But I enjoyed seeing those texts. Remember our first bus trip? I sat up front with Lee, just have a conversation with him. We were going to Rochester, Minnesota, and our bus broke down, but the time there on the bus, so up there talking, he had the biggest smile on his face for the first 2 hours of the drive. I just did not understand because it is nothing out here to see. It is very boring. Driving is boring. But he was loving every minute of it. Then it kind of hit me. This was his passion. He loved this. He loved his job. He loved driving the bus and loved driving for our T-Bird family here. Overall, Lee was the bright spot here at Cloud. He provided unlimited laughs, love, and the best hospitality. Lee was a home away from home that many of us needed. I'm forever grateful for that. I'm extremely happy for him to be reunited with Marla. Definitely sad for Cloud. But he's one of my best friends, and I'll be expecting a cup of coffee down the road.
"30 minutes prior to every departure on an athletic trip, you'd find the Cloud County Thunderbird MCI charter bus settled into the middle of Lot 2, ready for takeoff. He was always early, the place was always cleaned, ready for the next team, trash bags hanging from the seats, coffee was brewed for the coaches on morning trips, and recently a first-class touch, LED lights glowing out onto the bottom from under the bus. In the driver's seat was the best bus driver in the nation, dressed in black slacks and a white button-up shirt for every single trip. It was a smile and a fist bump for every person that entered the bus. The pride of being the bus driver for Cloud County Community College beamed out of Lee Gale. Finding reliable bus drivers for small colleges is probably not an easy thing. For most people, it's a part-time side income. The job's not glamorous. It isn't regular or consistent hours. It's early mornings, it's late nights. Nobody's getting rich doing it. But the responsibility that job carries is huge. Lee was as good as it gets. The reason Lee was as good at his job as anybody in the world is that to Lee it wasn't a job, it was a way of life and his avenue to make a difference in the world. He made riding the T-Bird bus a big-time experience. Interacting with people and serving others is what Lee did. One example of this is a tradition he started with our baseball program in 2019. After a particularly tough game in a tournament in Edmond, Oklahoma, I decided to send the team back to the hotel with one of our assistant coaches at the time, TJ Segabart. I stayed back at the field to scout the other team that we would play the next day. TJ got on the bus in his chance to be the boss and said, I told the team that we're going back to the hotel. We're going to have study hall in the rooms, and your lights are going to be out by 10 p.m. As the bus pulled out of the stadium and got down the road, TJ realized that they were not going in the direction to the hotel that he thought that they should be. When TJ asked Lee what he was doing, Lee reminded him that he was the captain of the bus, not TJ. Instead of going to the hotel, Lee decided he would take the team to Brahms for ice cream. Every year thereafter is a tradition. Once a year, he'd find the right time, usually after a road doubleheader sweep, to pull off the highway into a Brahms and treat the whole team to ice cream on him. After learning of Lee's passing, I decided to look back through my texts with him. He took us on our trip up to Nebraska. Was his last trip on Saturday, October 7th. Last thing he sent me was a message from 7 days before he died asking about my mother's health. My mom had some minor health issues recently that we had discussed. I never went to sleep on a ride with Lee, and I was with Lee from the first trip that he had to the very last. So a lot of windshield time, and I remember him just random things come up asking about my mom. And so the last text I had from Lee was, "How's your mom doing?" Just totally unsolicited, totally out of the blue. Just how's your mother feeling? I'm sure I wasn't the only one he was checking in on regularly. It was probably a good amount of people in this room. He took a genuine interest in his people. He actually even let Bray Skinner move in with him, which is crazy. But seriously, I can probably count on one hand the amount of people I've encountered in my life that truly seem to care more about others than they do themselves. Selflessness, it's a really, really, really rare thing in today's world. To me, Lee's legacy is selflessness. Be like Lee. Check on your people. Measure your worth not in dollar signs, but human interactions and relationships. And whatever you choose to do in your life, take pride in it and be the absolute best at it. Thanks.
Good morning. For those who don't know me, my name is Devin Castrop. I'm the head men's basketball coach here at Cloud. I'm going in my third year now, and Lee Gale has had my back since day one. I first met Lee my second day on the job. Cody Cole, who was the wrestling coach at the time, said, "Hey, man, you need to come over here. You need to meet Marlon Lee." However he said it, I don't really know how to describe it. It just seemed like a big deal. I went over there, and just like many of us, had an instant connection with the grumpy effer. Now, that's a wild nickname considering I've only seen him not have a smile on, I can count on one hand. So, didn't really describe him, but I love that nickname for him. Sometime during that first fall, after he said to me was, "The door's always open, anytime." I only found out that was half true. I decided to put it to the test that first fall and showed up at 5:45 a.m. one time. The door was not open. However, I woke Lee up, he got up, and seemed genuinely excited that I was there. He really did mean that I could come over anytime. During the rest of that year, I routinely came over before the sun even thought about rising, and somehow he was always up now waiting for me. Lee was special because serving others truly gave him joy. When I think about Lee, I think about how he was the living embodiment of what I think a great teammate is. He did all the little things, did not care for any of the credit, and wanted success for the others. Lee was a shining example of what I would like to be as a person and coach. However, he was probably the most excited when I did not follow that example he set. He was the only person I knew that was absolutely thrilled when I get ejected from a game. I would get a stern talking to from our president, the AD, and my wife. Can't do that. Hold your composure. Lee, however, would be like, "All right." He would plan a dinner where we would go out, because I couldn't go to the game in whatever town, and we would talk about everything but basketball. Actually, it was in a sushi restaurant in Great Bend, Kansas, that we planned to go on a cruise together. He was supposed to go with Marla, and I feel so blessed that I got to spend those moments with him. I'm really thankful that our last conversation ended with, "I love yous, and come on over anytime." Lee, I know you're having a blast with Marla, but I just want you to know, I have to make coffee in my office now. It's terrible. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. My name is Drew Mahan. I'm cross-country and track coach here at Cloud, and we've been really happy to have Lee supporting all these teams and Cloud in general in our community for the short period that he did. So I think it's awesome that so many people have invested so much back into Cloud, but in a short amount of time, Lee pretty much showed everybody how to do it, whether it was international students feeling like home, whether it was all the different teams that could have a piece of Lee during the week. People can be people at Lee's house, and I think that's what the major message that everybody kind of shares throughout this time is that it didn't matter if you're an athlete, a student, teacher, faculty, staff, you could be a person at Lee's, and he really cared about who you were. We shared a lot of moments, the struggles, the exciting things. Here's a picture of Lee at 2019 National Championships, and he was probably more excited than anybody else. I don't know, he slept that night when we got back to probably Amarillo, and then the next day we were coming back all the way to Concordia. He was coordinating a welcome while every pit stop we were at, texting Carlene, texting everybody else, president, when we would be back, where to meet, what was going to happen, and how to support all the student athletes when they got back home. I think one thing that was interesting after Lee's service, we had a lot of athletes in our office sharing memories of having a rough meet, whether they found out of all their jumps, they didn't throw well, they false started, something bad happened. They went to hide from the world, hide from their coaches, probably hide from a 4x4 relay, and they found Lee on the bus. Lee was there to pick them back up, sneak them some sweets, and make sure that they're doing all right and get their butt back out there. So I think that, when they were trying to hide from the world, they ended up finding somebody they didn't know they needed. We had a lot of storm delays, whether it was in Arkansas, like 5 hours worth of rain. We had nationals with lightning delays many times over. We got a lot of long, stressful trips with Lee, and he helped calm those things down. He helped get us where we needed to go on time, whether it was some kid forgetting his spikes at the hotel or a bib number or a coach just not having a great day. He was there to calm us all down and kind of be that constant, steady source of inspiration for all of us. He opened up his house to many of our cross-country kids early in the first semester that they've ever been here. And if you are a freshman here at Cloud and you're lost within the building, you're lost in life, you're lost in athletics, that was a great moment in the first few weeks that he just got to be there to just hear, let you stress, let you go over whatever you wanted to in your life, and you never were going to be treated differently. He wasn't going to go have any drama, go back to the coaches. You got to be a person at Lee's house. So when we had a trophy from 2019 Nationals, we're on our way back. We stopped in Lubbock, Texas at a gas station, and there's a little kid there. They just got done watching K-State and Texas Tech play, and I think Texas Tech sealed up the Big 12 tournament, and they got to see them have a trophy celebration there on the field. When this kid and his family saw our huge bus, they thought we were some huge D1 school, and it was really impressive to that kid. Of course, Lee, he goes and tells the kid, you want to get on the bus? You want to hold the trophy? He takes that kid, he gives them a whole dang tour, and it was probably the highlight of that kid's day, not even just watching Texas Tech play, but he got to see and hold a national championship trophy. That was really cool for Lee to be able to open up his doors, open up his bus, and then open us all up to him and Marla and the way we can impact each other. So we just really appreciate everybody being here today for each other to be like Lee. So thanks for your time.
Obviously, I'm going to have to lower this a little bit. Okay, there's a lot of stories I could probably tell about Lee over the last several years, but there's one in particular that I wanted to share that happened in 2021 during the COVID season. And we played in the spring, and we'd been to KCK in Kansas City to play. And it ended up being a 5-set match like what we're kind of used to here recently. And we came out on top, but we didn't get home very early. It was probably about 1 o'clock. And those games during COVID season, we had to bring balls with us because we couldn't share warm-up balls, even though we shared the ball that we played with during the game. But in warm-up, we were to bring our own balls. So we loaded up balls every game that we went that spring in our carts, and we had a little cover over them. But we got home that night, and we were getting everything out about 1 o'clock in the morning. It was very cold. It was in February, and we're trying to get everything back into the building. And Carlene, if you'll put this photo up. So that night, when we were gathering the balls, we had a little mishap. And a few days later, Lee posted this on his Facebook page, a picture where he has a black eye and a huge knot on the top of his head. And what he posts is this right here, which I think truly says what Lee was. He's a little bit ornery, but the best person that I've ever known as far as a love for life. He says, okay, here's the deal. I've had several people ask me what really happened. Guess they don't believe it was the Cloud County volleyball team having retaliation for not letting me drive them to Taco Bell. They're also not buying that a herd of rabid chipmunks overtook me when I wouldn't give them my nuts. Could have been the last short joke that I told Marla and she jumped up and hit me. No, it was actually a volleyball, a round sphere of impending doom that took me down. Picture this, fat boy here running after an escaped volleyball rolling down the parking lot on its way back to Kansas City to see his family. Said fat boy tries with very little athletic ability to stop the ball by doing some very fancy soccer moves and finally stepping on top the ball, throwing myself forward to meet the cement parking lot firsthand, or head. Ever noticed how things go into slow motion when you know you're on your way down? Gives one time to think, did I change my underwear? Mom said to always wear clean underwear in case you have an accident. Am I getting the most from my Medicare supplements? Everything except, oh shit, this is gonna hurt. After a short time testing the hardness of the parking lot surface and admiring the texture of the arrangement of small rocks and sand particles, I set up with the help of two wonderful people with the usual phrase, I'm all right. So here I am, 3 days later, sore, colorful, and still cracking jokes. Lee knew the secret of the so-called good life. The essential ingredient to the good life is goodness itself. Lee lived the good life. His life was filled with goodness. His life was filled with love, kindness, gratitude, compassion, generosity. He didn't just love, he astonished us all with his love. He didn't dabble in generosity. He lived a life of staggering generosity. Lee lived a life of love, connection, acceptance, generosity, community, and kindness. And I will miss the interesting conversations that we shared going up and down the road. But I know that he is right where he wants to be right now, back with Marla in his arms.
Hey, Deb. Hey, Deb. Real quick, I want to add a little thing to that story that you didn't know about. The Dirty Birds were playing that day as well, and he and I had to argue about who he was driving that day because he really wanted to be with his Dirty Birds. And I just put my foot down and said, Lee, I'm sorry, but they're going the furthest distance. You have to go with volleyball. And he's like, I don't like volleyball. And I said, well, you're going to have to get to know the girls and enjoy it. You need to experience it. You need to, really try to like it. So after that happened, he texted me that night and said, I just want you to know this is your fault because I didn't want to go with volleyball, and this is what happened to me. So just a little funny, but after that day, he liked volleyball, and he wanted to go with the girls all the time. Give me a moment. I'm going to cue up a video from a former coach that we had here.
Hello, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Kevin Roll. Former Kevin Roll. Hello, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Kevin Roll. Former, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Kevin Roll. Former assistant softball coach at Cloud County. Hello, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Kevin Roll. Former assistant softball coach at Cloud County. Hello, my Cloud family. I just want you to know that this is all written just because. Hello, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Kevin Roll. Former assistant softball coach at Cloud County.
Freshman year, there was me and like 7 other guys just sleeping on Lee's couch just because, we were watching a movie. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Lee comes walking in from a bus trip, and we're like, "Hey, Lee, how's it going?" We're all sitting there in our underwear, just like, "Hey, what's up, Lee?" And he stops and looks at us, like, "How's your bus ride?" And he's just kind of, He came back from like Garden City or something kind of a crappy drive. He's like, "Whoa, it's underwear night, huh? All right." He said, "I'll be back." 2 minutes later, he comes walking in, a pair of boxers, a glass of scotch, and sits down and watches the movie with us till like 4:30 in the morning. He was a man of love. He cared for everyone. He didn't matter, He cared for everyone. He's always just so caring. He loved talking, loved listening more than all, and he loved having fun. I mean, Gilly said in his speech it was crazy to let him, let me come live with him, and that's all I heard from everyone. Like, "Oh man, that's not a good idea." Lee's got some stories, and Bray's going to do those same things. And he was, he shared stories of, times at K-State, streaking across campus, like, dude, what? He's like, "Yeah, it was back in the 70s, it was cool, like, that's what you did. Everybody was walking around naked, nobody cared, He's like they used to put it in he said they used to put a paper in the ad, or an ad in the paper, and it was like, yeah, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's going to be a streak. There's like 200 people to do this. I'm like, "Dude, you're lying." He's like, "No." So I'm being serious. He's like, "This is what we used to do." And I'm like, wow, I'm like, that'd be awesome to live in the 70s, He told me one night he did it, and there was somebody took his clothes because they thought it'd be funny, and he said he walked 7 blocks back to his dorm without any clothes. He said he was just walking by, and there's people taking out their garbage and stuff, and he's just waved at him, "Hey, how's it going?" But it was definitely something special when I came here. I never thought I'd be living with a 70-year-old man, and I never thought I'd be as close as I am with a 70-year-old man. He was my best friend, as well as others, and I really appreciate everything he did for me and what he did for everyone else. So fly high, Lee. Love you, man.
Zoe, we're going to try the video again if you just give me a second.
Hello, everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Kevin Roll, former assistant softball coach at Cloud County. Hello, my Cloud family. I just want you to know that this is all written just because I don't think I could get through it if I just try to do it off the top of my head. But these were words I had to get out. It really sucks that we have to meet up like this, but it's a part of life. Shoot, y'all work at a junior college, 2-3 years tops, and the students are out of here, sometimes out of our lives. Not in this way, but in other ways. But when this happens, it hurts. It hurts bad, especially when you had trips to look forward to, things that you had discussed that now won't transpire. It's rough. I know a lot of you are feeling it right now. I am too. If I'm still holding up during this video, I'll be shocked. I don't believe in censorship, so this isn't edited other than just written. I believe in reality, and Lee did too. That's what made him so real, so easily to connect to. When you were with Lee, you weren't judged. You were asked questions. He wanted to get to know you. He enjoyed getting to know people, not just on the surface, but deep down. The mental wellness, philosophical, deep conversations we had were amazing. Some days so much I was 8 shots of espresso down and wondering why I was shaking so much. But that's who Lee was. He was someone you could talk to and be around for hours. Some people only refer to him as our bus driver, but Lee was more than a bus driver. Lee was wisdom. Lee was wisdom. Lee was welcomed hugs. Lee was safety. Lee was warmth. Lee was comfort. Lee was a sanctuary. Lee was curious. Lee was a cozy home. Lee was a quiet place to study. Lee was a fun place to party. Lee was the office away from the office. Lee was home away from home. Lee was a mentor. Lee was inspiration. Lee was devotion. Lee was a frat boy at heart, but also a level-headed one who did it right. He was the right kind of person. But most of all, Lee was a great friend. No, Lee was an amazing friend. Like so many of you, I'm going to miss him. However, unlike many of you, I actually got the opportunity to say goodbye to him. Not just once, but twice. It still hurts though. There's still a part of me that aches because there's a piece missing. Lee was even more than he even imagined he was. And no matter what, no matter how much time you, I, or anyone got to spend with Lee, don't take any of it for granted. Don't dilute it by saying I should have. You know, I should have spent more time with him. I should have talked to him more. I should have learned more about him. No, don't go down that path. But rather enjoy the moments you did have with him, even if it was a simple hello at the grocery store, because that's who Lee was, and that's what he would want. He wanted us to be happy with what we had and not with what we hoped we could have. We had what we had and just be grateful for it. Thank you for allowing me to come to you today via video, and know that I'm sending you all gigantic, strong hugs today and always. I love my Cloud family and miss you. And now it is the time we are going to need one another. Comfort is a valuable thing, and Lee was comfort to so many. So it's up to us now to continue what he started. We are his legacy. Be comfort and a safe place to someone who needs it. Don't be judgmental. Instead, ask questions. Be curious and enjoy one another's company, because we never know what tomorrow brings. Rest in peace, Lee. Love you, brother. Miss you. Give Marla a big hug and enjoy the journey beyond the stars. And for each of you,
Now I'd like to have Ted Schmitz come forward.
Before Ted starts, I just want to come on here and just remind our students of our resources, because this can be a hard and challenging time. So we do have Aubrey Anderson, who's our on-campus therapist. You can email her at aanderson@cloud.edu, or you can go and see her at her office, which is in the upper gym. And then we also have BetterMind, which is our online therapy platform, and you just can sign up through bettermind.com. Make sure you use your T-Bird email. And then please, if you're struggling, ask for help, because we are always here for you guys. Thank you.
Good morning. I want to start out and say, turn to the person to the right of you and say, I'm sure glad that you're a part of Cloud family. And now turn to the person to the left of you and just kind of be puzzled. Like, what do I say? No. I'm Ted Schmitz, and I just want to thank you all for coming today. And again, I wrote down some things as well. Let's give everyone that came up this morning to talk a good hand. I want to thank God for Lee, for his friendship to me and so many others. I don't know how other people got up here without crying. But this morning, I was asked to wrap up. And I want to wrap up, and I want to give us all some hope. I want to take a minute and to read a poem by Linda Ellis. And this is called The Dash. It's a Dash poem. And if you're interested in the poem, as you're leaving today, if you want to pick it up, I rent some copies of it, and I'll have them up here, because I think it says a lot. The Dash poem by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the date on his tombstone from the beginning to the end. Does everybody hear that echo? He noted that first came the date of birth in June, on Lee's, this is June 7th, 1952, and spoke of the following dates with tears. October 15th, 2023. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For the dash represents all the time that they spent here on earth. And now only the loved ones, and now only those who loved them knew what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that you can still rearrange. If you could just slow down enough to consider what is true and real, and always try to understand the way the other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read, with your life's actions to be rehashed, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? All of us are gathered here today at Cloud County. You're part of the Cloud family. Our dash is still there. I have chosen to illustrate this by a rope. I call it the rope of hope. I put some red tape on this rope. And this is to indicate the life of Lee. The dash between his birth and his death. That was his dash. And I want us to think about our lives. We're still here today. We're already a few days, a week or so later than when Lee was here. Our dash is still happening. It's still something I want us to think about. Let's use Lee. I really love this. Be like Lee. That was a message I heard a few times today. So I want us to think about our dash and what's remaining of it. And I want to give us hope. That's the message I want to leave us with, is hope. There was a time before Lee's dash that I was struggling. I had other funerals I went to. My wife and I, had a miscarriage. my dad passed away. It was in that time I slowed down. I took the time to think. I took the time to ask myself, why? What's the purpose? Why am I here? Is there any hope? What in the world are we here for? We're here for something bigger. There was another life. What I found out when I started to seek and when I started to search and when I started to find some time to really think about it, God touched me. God brought me to His Word. And I read John 3:16. For God so loved the world that He gave His one and only begotten Son, that whoever believes in Him shall not perish but have everlasting life. I thought about it. I thought about another death way before my dad's death. And I thought about how much love that was. Because of sin, there is death. You know, does anybody know anybody over 120 years of age here? Over 110. Over 100. Okay, one person, two people. Okay, as we know, there's death. But in my life, when I sat down and thought about it, and when I started to read the Word of God, and it made a big difference in my life. It now has given me hope, because this dash is still carrying on for the people in this room. It had carried on before Lee's dash. Each and every one of us may be touched by different people, but hopefully we can take time and we can be touched by God. Because in God and believing in God, what I find is He gives me hope for eternal life. He gives me hope for a future. He gives me the strength to carry on day by day and not just to be sad. He wipes away every tear from our eyes. Every tear from our eyes He can wipe away. So I just want to close this today, and there's a song that I'd like to play at the end. But take time to think. Take time to be thankful for Lee. Some of you may not have known Lee, but you heard stories about Lee today, and you probably thought about somebody else. I've been here as a student for 2 years, as a coach for 43 years. 45 years of my life, Cloud has been a family. Some of you, you're just starting. But hopefully today you'll realize you're all part of the Clouds family, and you always will be. I also sponsor FCA here on the campus. It's for students, anybody that wants to come by. We meet on Thursday evenings. What a great time. The students get together and they talk about things of life. We talk about what are they thankful for. We talk about what are they struggling with. And we give hope. We could all use a little hope. I want to tell you there is hope. I want to tell you to live like Lee. Enjoy each and every moment. Be yourself and let that light shine. All right, Carlene, I have a song there to play if you'd play that song. I want to thank everybody for attending today. Let's give Lee a round of applause.
These tears would just be tears falling down my face, and this hurt would just be hurt with no healing on the way. Thank you, Jesus. Heaven changes everything. A goodbye would be goodbye, but no, I'll see you again. simply be the end. Thank you, Jesus. Heaven changes everything. In the light of eternity, I have this hope. You hold my heart and I'm never alone. One day you're coming back, one day I'm coming home. Thank you, Jesus. Heaven changes everything. Ooh, everything. My questions would stay questions, no answers to be found. And all the times I've fallen, I'd still be there on the ground. Thank you, Jesus. Oh, I can't live for the day when my eyes will finally see every piece that was broken, restored and redeemed. Thank you, Jesus. Heaven changes everything. In the light of eternity, I have this hope. You hold my heart and I'm never alone. One day you're coming back, one day I'm coming home. Thank you, Jesus. Heaven changes the way that I love, the way that I live, the way I let go and choose to forgive. The peace in this pain, the hope in this grief, the beauty beyond this I have to believe. I can't see what you see, but I know that I know this world's where I am, but this world's not my home. In the light of eternity, I have this hope. You hold my heart and I'm never alone. One day you're coming back, one day I'm coming home. Thank you, Jesus. Heaven changes everything. Heaven changes everything. Heaven changes everything.
In closing, I'd like to just invite you guys to the library for some coffee and some cookies. And then if the coaches would like to walk over to the cemetery with me to lay the wreath on the grave. So thank you for coming. We appreciate everything.